We're going to take some time today to talk about bringing in scoreboard data into a live video production. We're specifically going to be talking about using this Score Link, which is made by Sportzcast. These devices take data from scoreboard controllers and interpolate that data into an XML file in our case. So the first place I want to go is sportzcast.net. And you can see here, they've redone their website, which is great. There was a lot of confusion on the last one, ScoreBot, Score Link, Score Hub. They've kind of broken things down into a couple of categories. Let's go to hardware first. You'll see under their hardware section, they have a couple of different devices. They've narrowed it down to two now. They have the Score Hub and the Score Link. We're going to water this down to just the Score Link. The Score Hub is kind of more of an all-in-one turnkey package. It's basically like one of the Nux computers that they've kind of built in the Score Link into that. We'll scroll down and you can take a look at this comparison chart. You can kind of see they both have a lot of the same features. The only thing that the Score Link is missing is the power supply, some of the audio jacks. I don't know why the operating temperature is different on there. I think these don't have a set operating temperature, I think because there's no fan in it or anything. I don't know why there's a difference there. But you can see that you can do cloud and local data. These do not output NDI or HDMI like the NUC models do, the Score Hub. So if it's something you want to just plug and play, that's the way you have to go with those. So this just sends out data. And then let's take a look at the software. On the software side, you've got SportsBot, Sports Designer, and SportsCG. Now, what these guys do is the SportsBot's like an iPad app that you can use as like a controller and send out data. Sports Designer is a place where you can design HTML scoreboards, basically using kind of like rudimentary design tools. And then the SportsCG is where you can take those graphics and deliver them across multiple platforms. So let's boil all this down, okay? We don't need any of this software to do what we're looking to do. We don't need the SportsBot, Sportsy Designer, SportsCG. We don't need the Score Hub. We're just going to focus on the Score Link, okay? So get all the other applications, all the other pieces of hardware out of your mind, and let's focus just on this. So how would you set this up? Well, when you get the box, this is in it, and then you have this DB9 cable with 3 connectors on the end, red, gray, and black. And it's like DAC, Fairplay, Nevco, one of those. I can't remember. I'd have to look it up again. But it plugs in here, and this goes into the back of the Score controller. You got a couple different ways you could set it up, though. Let's say you're doing like a one-man band kind of thing. It's just maybe you and a wide shot of a field or a basketball court. You're already going to be in the press box next to the scorekeeper. You could set this right next to the scorekeeper, plug it up, and run an Ethernet cable right over to your machine and start bringing in data that way. The way we typically use it is we place this up in the score box, and then we run the Ethernet out into a little switch that we keep in the score box, and we'll put internet into that. We'll put this into it because it gets PoE, gets power over the Ethernet port, and then we'll run that down in like our audio and video loom back down to our trailer. So we kind of keep it on like sort of a closed network-ish kind of thing, and run it back down, and it works great.
So this is my kit that I keep my Score Link in. It's a simple Harbor Freight case. Keeps my Sportzcast Score Link. And I pull this up, and it has my DB9 cable, and then I keep a spare USB to program it or for power. So I'll leave that in there because today we're using PoE. This is the Score Link made by Sportzcast. You can see that it has some indicator lights, scoreboard range, power, server, USB. Those pop up here. The scoreboard connects to the DB9 cable. right there. This USB is how we can do some configuration and provide power. And then the awesome part about this one is it's PoE powered, and we have a network port with indicator lights. That's really all there is to this little box. That's it. So this is the cable that comes with it. It's a DB9 connector. And then you basically have 3 pinouts for different controllers. This is a Electromech controller. So we use this gray one. We also use the gray one for the Daktronics stuff as well. All right, I went ahead and screwed in my DB9 connector. I'm going to go ahead and look at the back of the controller here. And you see that there's a couple of ports. I know it's upside down. I guess I can flip it for you guys. So, delay a game shot clock. Not using those two. We're going to use these scoreboard outs. This is going wirelessly over to the scoreboard. We're not snatching it out of the air. We're going to take it right from the back of the scoreboard. So we're going to take our cable, plug it right in there. So that's it. That's all that connects between the two, between the Score Link and the actual box itself. I'm going to clean up all these wires. So I just plugged in our network cable. You can see we got lights all lit up. You can see we have power, the server, scoreboard, all good. That's what we want. All right, so that's basically it for the booth side. I got the scoreboard plugged in. It's running PoE over to a switch over here, right there where the internet's coming in. So it's getting power all from the Ethernet cable, getting signal from the board through the DB9 connector, and that's it. That's all you have to set up in the booth.
Now, the next thing you need to do is, if you purchase one of these, is you've got to download 2 pieces of software. They are located, if you go to Sportzcast website, in the top right corner, you'll see a downloads button. You do have to create an account for this, but when you do, it's super easy. Just log in, and you're going to download 2 pieces of software, okay? So far, you've bought a Score Link, you've got a cable, and you're going to get 2 pieces of software. Okay, that's it. The first one you need to get is this Live XML right here. I'll highlight that guy. So that's the first one you need to get. Live XML takes the data from the Score Link, and it's going to interpolate that data and write it to an XML file. The second one you need to get is Score Connect, which is right here. Now, Score Connect is pretty neat. It will identify your Score Link on a network. It also allows you to make changes as to like what board you're using, what interface you're talking to. So once you get both of those downloaded, I'll show you what they look like. So you have the Score Connect software, and then you have the Sportzcast Live XML. There is a gotcha with the Live XML, okay? Live XML has a license. You have to get a license from the folks at Sportzcast. If I go back to the downloads page, I'll show you. Right here at the top, there's this line that most people breeze over because it's at the top. It says, once you've downloaded Sportzcast software, please contact support to obtain a license key. They're super quick about getting a license key back to you, but it is something you have to do. I'm not a big fan of their licensing system at all because it's tied to an individual machine. When I originally went to set this up, I did have a desktop. First off, I just plugged it in and thought it would work. And then I found out really quickly I needed the other software to make it work. And then I downloaded the software, got everything talking, went to put it on this laptop, which is used as our score bug. And the software wouldn't fire up. The license, it wouldn't open. And I found out that it was tied to a machine. You can't deactivate it on that machine. You can't transfer it. It's one license per machine. So be careful if you're going to set it up on multiple machines that you do have multiple licenses. And you can let the guys know how many you need. So in a typical setup, we have this hooked to our switch in our score box. I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to hook up USB to give it power. You can see the lights come on there. And then I'm going to hook up our network cable here. And we've got network connectivity. All of our lights are on. And now I'm going to take a look at our Score Connect software. Now we can see here that I have a bot, Ethernet Score Link bot 13422. And on the bottom of your unit is your bot number. So that 13422 lines up with my bot. So I can select that. For the point of this demo, I'm not, because I'm going to be emulating football, so I'm going to be faking data. I don't have any scoreboard to plug it up to. So I'm just going to leave it on USB. Right here under the scoreboard manufacturer, this is where you can select what sport you're doing and what board you're connecting to. There's all the Fair Play, Nevco, a lot of DAC stuff, and Electromech. I have this emulate football checked because I want to use this to send out data, right? So you can see down here, sport football, this clock's running 11, 16, 15. There's a home score and away score. We're doing pretty good. So over here at our live XML side, we want to first make sure that this output is on. It defaults to off. Let's go ahead and turn that guy on. Let's go light up green. And then we're going to configure a file path for where this XML data is being written. Our live file type is XML, and our file path is going to be this guy right here on the desktop. It's one we've used in the past. Yeah, you can replace it. It's getting replaced anyway. So now if you look through the actual physical data, you'll see that there's an info header here. That's where all the data kind of starts. It's almost like a subdirectory. Like think of like a file browser. The data is starting after the info. We're going to have to remember that when we go into our graphics software later where we're going to pull the data from. We can see here the bot, the sports football. The biggest thing is this clock, right? I can see that it's going 10:07, 10:06, and it's matching our clock over here in our Score Connect software. So all of this looks pretty good. It's writing to this XML file on the desktop, and all of this is set up. So to get this up and running, you need the Score Link and these two pieces of software. There is, on the other hand, a huge skill set that you need to possess when setting this up. That's networking. I know just enough about networking to be dangerous. And so our scoreboard operator, Heath, is very knowledgeable in networking. And we found out very quickly that there were some pitfalls in running this device on other people's networks, and even some changes we needed to make within our firewall permissions and ports on our local machine to really make the system flawless. The first time we implemented this, we had all kinds of trouble trying to get it to connect and see data, and it wouldn't talk to the Score Connect software. It was a royal nightmare. And we found a couple tricks that I want Heath to talk to you about that really just cleaned everything up. So I'm going to turn it over to Heath and let him describe to you exactly what we did to kind of clean up some of these networking issues.
All right, so now we're going to take a look at the networking side of using the ScoreBot. So the big 3 steps to make sure you do before you can use it is to make sure that all the programs associated with Score Connect are all being handled in the firewall. And also port 1402 is made an exception in the firewall. And then to ensure the right, they're using the right IP address for using live XML. So the first thing we'll do, go to the start menu and just type in firewall. Then go into the Windows Defender firewall, and then on the left click allow an app or feature through the firewall. Then we'll click change settings. I'll go full screen. Then at the bottom hit allow another app, browse, and then make your way to the folder where the Score Connect and Sportzcast Live XML folders are. It's a mouthful. We'll just copy the address because we're going to be adding every single program, so it'll be a little cumbersome, but we'll do Score Connect first. So command client, make sure that both of these boxes are checked for private and public networks. And then we'll just keep doing it for every single program. Some of these I have already put in, so it won't let me do it again, but for you, it shouldn't. That should not come up at all. do Score Connect, then Score Connect GUI. Last one in this folder is the service. You really want that to go through. All right, go back a folder and then go into the live XML and do the same with that dude. And it's, again, already in the list of exceptions, but that's okay. Just double check. Okay, so all those are being handled now. Then to make sure that port 1402 is open both inbound and outbound, we'll go back down to the start menu, and I actually could have kept that window open, but if you already closed it, you just go to the firewall again. And then on the left, click Advanced Settings. I'll go full screen again. Okay, so on the left-hand side, you'll see inbound rules and outbound rules. So the first thing we'll go into is inbound rules, and click Action, New Rule, and we'll click Port, TCP, and then the specific local port we'll do 1402. That's the port that the ScoreBot transfers data over. I'll just go ahead and copy that so I can just paste it later. You'll want to make sure to allow the connection. Make sure the rule applies to domain, private, and public connections. And we'll just call it 1402 TCP inbound, just because it's descriptive. And we'll do that again 3 more times. This one for UDP. 1402 again, allow, next. 1402 UDP inbound. And now that we have the 2 inbound ones, we'll go to outbound rules on the left-hand side here. And then we'll go up to Action, New Rule, and then do the same thing. So port, TCP, specific, remote ports 1402. Allow all 3 of those, and we'll call 1402 or TCP outbound. And we'll do one last one. Port UDP 1402, allow 3 of those, 1402 UDP outbound. Okay. So all of those rules are set up to where 1402 is allowed both data coming in and out of the firewall. And in this setup, we have the ScoreBot just connected directly to the Ethernet port on the computer. So in Live Score XML, if you go to File and Edit Config, you'll change the bot server to the local host, which is 127.0.0.1. This IP will be different if you're running it on a network, like on a switch or something. But this the LiveScore XML bot server IP coincides with the ScoreBot's IP, so just make sure that that's correct. And if it's still not linking up, just try rebooting. The classic turn off and back on again. But after that, it should work. It should all link up together and then work just fine after that. So that's how you connect the ScoreBot over a network.
So once you've done everything Heath said, opened up the ports, cleared all the applications in your firewall on the machine you're going to be using, you should be good to go. I mean, every time we would set the system up after we did those steps on the firewall and the ports, it worked flawlessly. Again, we created kind of a little closed network, which helped clean things up too. But once you take those steps, it should be plug and play. But there is some pitfalls. There's 2 big ones that we encountered. The one was the license, and the second one was the networking issues of allowing the firewalls and the ports. All right, so let's talk about how you would actually take and use this data that we're getting from our scoreboard in a production. I'm going to open up vMix. This product will work with Expression. It'll work with New Blue Titler. Not necessarily just vMix. We typically love vMix. I personally love it, and I love the GT Designer. And so I'm going to show that particular use case, but it can be used across the board. All right, so let's jump into vMix. So here we go. We have a simple GT title. I'm going to go ahead and animate it on. There it goes. It animates on right there. Here it is. I'm going to take a look at our title editor here, right? You can see that we have a couple text fields. We have a clock, a home team, an away team, a home score, and an away score, okay? Well, what we can do right off the bat, if we want to just use a built-in title here within vMix, we could go straight to the clock, and we're going to add a data source, okay? So if I go over here to data source, I can hit manage. So here you see we have this FA Live XML. I'm going to click on the settings tab here and hit browse. And we'll go to our desktop. So this is actually the file that we're creating from the Live XML program, right? If I hit open here, you'll see that it pulled it up right there, the FA Live XML. And then this path, the /info, that's the directory, right? We're looking for data after, here, let's go over there and look at that for a sec. So we're looking for data after this .info, right? After the bracketed info section. So you want to put that in there in your path. You click OK. Now it creates this set of data. We go across here. You can see we've got down and distance. Our clock is working. Everything's looking good. I'm going to close this out. So now that you have your XML as a data source inside of vMix, we're going to select it. All right. So if we go back to our clock tab here, or our clock text source, and I go to data source, I'm going to select this data source. So I'm going to select the XML file that we created. And you can see here under this column section, we now have all of the data that's in our live XML. So if I go to clock, it clicks clock, 4 minutes and 7 seconds. I click OK, and it's updating now live. So you can see our clock's moving here as well as on our scoreboard in our production. Same thing for home score. I can go to data source, add the FA Live XML, go to our column, and we're going to go to H score, home team score. Okay, it's 27. It updated there, and our away score. So let's do that. FA Live XML. Our column is going to be V score for visitor score. Okay, it's 15. So boom, now we have an animated title with our data in there. And again, this is just a normal GT title input. So this is how you can just work right out of the box, right into vMix, good to go. You can change the home and away team names using the title editor. But let's say you have a graphics package and you're looking to maybe use a custom score bug, right? So I'll quickly show you one that we created here in GT Designer. If you don't know anything about GT Designer, it's a free application that comes bundled with vMix. It is a glorified PowerPoint that allows you to do animations and editable title elements, text elements within vMix. It is a royal pain in the butt to design in, but it gives you a ton of flexibility with animations and being able to update these text elements live and in real time within vMix. So if you're going to build something in it, I recommend maybe using something like After Effects or Photoshop to build your elements, and then just lay your text in and do your animations in the GT Designer. So what we're going to look for is this layer called data. Data is all of the information that we're pulling from our score link. Let me turn that on and off and you can see. So it's our down and distance, our quarter, our time, our home and away scores. Now, we also have some kind of cool hidden elements in here. I'll kind of show you. We have the stat element and we have a flag element. And I'll show you how those kind of work in vMix when we get over there. So let's go back to the data section. You see here that the names of these data sources, vScore, HScore, quarter text, and clock, align with the same verbiage that's used here, right? Clock, HScore, vScore. We do that so that we can easily map these data sources once we get over in vMix. You saw with the basic title how we found vScore, HScore pretty quickly. When we build our own titles in GT Designer, we tend to follow that naming structure, so it's really easy to just kind of one for one all of these names when you get in there. So now that you see how the title's built, let's hop back over into vMix. So here's our title. Let's go ahead and animate that off really quickly. And let's animate it back on so you can see it. So all of our data flew in. It's being updated across the board. So you can see the flexibility there with the animations, right? If we were to build this as a lockdown PNG, we wouldn't be able to animate the text or update the text like that. So the GT Designer gives you a lot of flexibility. Now let's go into our title editor and take a look at our mapping. So let's first look at our V-score. We go into our data source. We have our XML that we created earlier. In our column, selected V-score. It's being updated there, 42-33. We got a good game going on here. Same thing for home score, right? We go to our data source, our live XML is select, and our home score is there. Boom, great. So now we have an animated title that animates on and off. Let's look at that animation one more time. Look at there. And we have data that's being live updated by our score link. Another cool thing you can do when creating these score bugs and using data. Oh, you know what? Let me show you really quickly those two, the announcement and the flag you saw earlier. So what we did with those was we actually created, exported just that one layer, that announcement layer and that flag layer by themselves. And you can see them right here. I'll put it in the preview. You see that bar there and then the flag bar here. So what we can do here is at any point we can turn this on to overlay 2 and it'll actually animate up. So it gives you a little flair to your score bug if you want to kind of create more of a score box. Same thing with the flag. I'll put it on layer 3 there. So it's kind of a neat little addition. And with these, with having it as its own thing versus using pages, we originally built it as page 1, page 2 animations. You're able to get to the title editor a lot quicker. So you could say 100 yards passing, right? So then we could show that pretty quickly versus having to go in here and go to title editor and find the announcement this way. That's why we ended up breaking it out. But again, it's something really neat to add to your score bug. It kind of takes it to another level. But let's get back to our data sources. We've got all of our data sources mapped into this score bug. That's great. So we have a score bug. But what's cool is now we can take the data that we're bringing in and we could populate all kinds of things. So let's look at some of the other graphics that we have built out for our shows. This is a halftime graphic, right? You see here, it's got the home and away score automatically being populated by the score link. We don't have to go in and change it. We don't have to go in and fix 4 different graphics with an updated score. It's all the way down the board. Same here with this graphic. You see we have the quarter and then the time remaining, as well as the score. We use this a lot of time when we go to break, so we'll animate off the regular score bug and then put this up just as kind of a different look going to break. Again, all the data is being populated by the score link. We're not having to change this at all. What you're looking at here is our actual score bug laptop, and this is our actual vMix setup. So this is what we actually use for our games. We take this as an NDI output into a vMix switcher, and we run all of the graphics with transparency through that one network cable. It works out great. It's a great solution for basically recreating a bug box, so to speak. And it's all possible with the score link. If we didn't have this guy, it would make this a lot harder. Updating the graphics manually is super time consuming and there's a lot of room for error. So having this, we're getting the official time, we're getting the official score, official down and distance, and we don't have to think about it. Once it's set up and linked to the game, we then can move our graphics guy to more show specific things. So he can look at, what stats are important for the game, or if there's sponsor logos that are supposed to be playing at certain times, or sponsored elements that need to fly in and fly out. He can focus on all that. He doesn't have to worry about keeping up with the score, the timer, down and distance. We already have someone at the facility doing that, and it's great to take advantage of them. And with the Score Link, that's possible. So should you get a Score Link or a Score Hub? What's kind of the differences there? The Score Link has worked out great for us. At the time of this video, these retail for $8.99. So this unit has a PoE option. For years, they were making this, and it just had this port, but you couldn't use it for anything. And they finally added the network connectivity in the PoE, which gives me the ability to run this long distances over a single cable and power it, which is fantastic. There's no subscription associated with this. With how we're running this entire setup, I buy this one time and I'm done. That's it. There are options where if I had a facility, maybe an educational facility where I have multiple venues where I could put this data and run it through their cloud service. That is a subscription cost. Maybe you want to use their HTML title editor or some of their software products. Those are subscription based. But if you just need data for your production and you can run it through your own network, it's going to cost you $900, which I think is great. Now, you will have to flip that data using a laptop to get that into your production. But if you don't have a laptop, or maybe you don't want to invest in the laptop to do that, you could buy their Score Hub. The Score Hub will take the data, flip it, and spit it out NDI or HDMI. So that's another option for you, and you can add on the subscription services with that as well to get that data up to the cloud and delivered to anywhere you want. The Score Link has been a great asset to us. Hopefully this answers some of your questions. If you have more, leave them in the comments section. I run a business for a living. I will try my best to answer them the best that I can, as soon as I can, which sometimes is delayed, and I apologize. I'm not a YouTuber. Hopefully this clears up some of the confusion around Sportzcast and their Score Link and their Score Hub, and their software and their subscription models for their cloud service. And it gives you a clearer picture of how you can exactly bring in data, scoreboard data, into your video production. I appreciate you guys watching, and we'll catch you next time.